Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello, Canadian marijuana friends. We're going to look at the big four. I'm going to do another video later this weekend, probably tomorrow, with some of the smaller names. So if you want to comment on this video and give some insight, I will read them, but no promises to what tickers I'm going to do. So we're going to look at the big four here. There's some news to start it off. Again, congratulations to the bulls. We had a really significant trading week, and I'm going to go over my individual trades today at the end of this video. A lot of micro trading, scalping, but just some insight into how I did that today. Pretty good day, even though it was a bloodbath in terms of a big-time pullback. So new leveraged marijuana ETFs. This is great. Leveraged marijuana ETFs mean they are going to trade more with more volatility. So we're looking at HMJU, which is a 2 times daily bull, and HMJD, which is the bear. And what that means is if HMMJ goes 1% bullish, this ticker is going to go up 2%, and this ticker is going to go down 2%. So it just adds more volatility. I'm looking forward to 3 times leverage ETFs whenever they come, and this is definitely a way to increase, the risk and reward of your trades. Another one is everybody's talking about, Molson Coors in talks with pot firms as legalization looms. So they listed a couple companies. At this point, APH is the favorite in terms of just sentiment out there in multiple Facebook groups, in our own chat room. So that means this is going to start to get priced in to a very small degree. And what that means is on a pullback, maybe APH is not going to pull back as much, and maybe on a bounce, APH is going to bounce a little bit harder. And it's going to be a very small amount of the market pricing it in because it's going to be people ahead of the herd. If you are reacting to this news and making your assumptions on who's going to benefit from it, you are, again, ahead of everybody else. And then once the news finally hits, that's the herd. That's when the herd's going to react. So we will see a huge bullish reaction, in my opinion, when we do get this announcement. We remember WEED and Constellation. So we will be looking for significant follow through whenever that does happen for the bulls. It might not happen. It could happen in 2 weeks. It could happen in 4 months. They did speculate potentially before the end of the year. So we're going to certainly keep an ear out. And I am going to be keeping an eye on APH to see how comparatively it trades to these other names. So we finally saw profit taking today. We knew it was coming. And again, in the video I did yesterday, I was talking about how my trading style avoids all of this red. And that's because I leave some profit on the way up, being very protective and not holding positions very much. I did swing trade on Tuesday night. I swing traded on Wednesday night. I did not hold over last night, and I will tell you why. It was 5-minute time frame showing me something. This is very notable bear volume, and it is the vast majority bear volume because of the kind of day we had, and you can look on the shorter term time frame to see that. This is notable. So if we had less volume, we would maybe be looking for a bull flag and continuation. Because of the amount of bear volume and the close at the low of the day, we're going to be looking for a gap down open on Monday. Even if we don't get the gap down, we're going to look for a flush first thing and a quick push down. I will be looking to buy that dip, but I will have a short-term mindset, and my trading style will be to enter on that pullback and sell half of it for a quick, small, short-term trade to protect the other half. And then the other half I'll try and let run longer because we're going to anticipate a daily equilibrium. The pullback is sharp enough that we're expecting more downside, a higher low on the daily chart to form, and then a bounce, and then a lower high and a tightening range to form into next week. So will Monday be the new higher low on the daily? I can't say. I'm going to position myself to profit in case it is. So we closed near the low of the day. That was very apparent if we looked at the shorter term time frames that was going to happen. Look at the 4-hour time frame. As soon as we entered about 2 p.m. Eastern, I saw the volume and I said, we're very likely going to close near the low and see continuation down because this is a ton of bear volume compared to the bull volume. The bear volume on these candlesticks is matching the bull volume on the way up. Bulls want to see decreasing bear volume on consolidation, and we don't have that. So again, while this is not going to change the daily trend, it is going to mean the pullback has more of magnitude to it. And of course, we were down 9% today. That is beautiful volatility and trading opportunity for short-term traders. Again, experienced short-term traders. If you try and do this without putting in the time and the education and the years, you're probably going to lose money, and we do not want to see that happen. So here on the hourly time frame, keeping an eye out for it to get to oversold. I would be surprised if it did get to oversold at this point for the hourly RSI to get down to oversold on Monday or Tuesday. We're probably going to have to drop down to about $42, $41, which would be significant follow through. It is possible, but I'm looking at the 15-minute time frame already oversold, and we're going to start Monday very likely with a gap down open. And if not, again, I expect to break the low of today, first thing Monday, and see a push down. But this 15-minute RSI will get down to 20 real quick, and I think we'll see at least a short-term bounce. And again, if I enter my position and I exit half of it on a short-term bounce, at that point, worst case scenario, I'm going break even. And if that is the low of the day and the bulls see a significant V-shaped recovery, then I have significant profit. If it's not, and we drop down to lower lows, I'm all out, break even, and then I have cash to do it all over again on the next flush down. So here on the shorter-term time frames, I traded Cron bearish today, and then I traded, well, actually, I'll wait till I go into my own trade here. But at the end of the day, we had an equilibrium, and we had our low, high, higher low, lower high. Then we had a lower low, but only just barely. The bulls still held on into this tight pattern, so I did not write the bulls off just yet. But as soon as this broke bearish at the end of the day, right here is where it looked like, okay, we're past 3 p.m., it's power hour, we're heading down to the low of the day. This absolutely, combined with the volume, this looks like a setup that we're going to see continuation and weakness into Monday. And some people acted bearish in response to this 5-minute equilibrium breaking, and the fact that we didn't break any of these lower highs. It was just lower high after lower high on all these bounce attempts after big flushes down. ACB on the daily time frame, again, profit taking, big pullback, and we will form a higher low on the daily. It's just a matter of where. So same thing, the close of the low of the day. We're looking for continuation down at least first thing on Monday. The 4-hour time frame, notable bear volume, maybe not as significant as WEED, but it's certainly high. Hourly RSI is nowhere near oversold, and the 15-minute RSI is not oversold as well. So WEED pulled back the hardest, and it also ran the hardest to the upside. So the higher you go up without establishing support, the faster you're going to pull back down. So support here is 996. Then I'm looking down at 985, 972, and 964. You can see the 15-minute time frame giving us some nice clear support levels, and those are the ones to be watching. There's also, let's see, do we have gaps on the daily chart? We have gaps on shorter term time frames, not on the daily charts. So if we look on the hourly here, there's a gap down at 954. Could be keeping an eye on that level as well. So again, I'm not going to try and predict, where's our daily higher low going to form. I'm going to take it 1 minute at a time. Once the bell rings on Monday, I'm going to be watching volume. I'm going to be watching the faster we push down first thing Monday, the more aggressive I'm going to be with my buying, anticipating a quick V-shaped recovery, at least in the short term. Weekly time frame, of course, everybody is bullish, and we're just going to be looking to establish higher lows after all of this run and after the hype has worn off a little bit in the short term. APH, so daily time frame pulled back. Look at the close on APH, and again, without a doubt in my mind, that's because people were reacting bullish. And again, it's consensus, and I'm talking 1,500 person Facebook group, maybe 500 people we have trading Canadian MJ. There's a lot of people that were talking about APH, so I do believe that it trickled and had an effect. The 4-hour time frame, you can see the end of the day. We did see a long lower wick of bulls buying the dip. Let's just see that on the 5-minute time frame. Here's where that news was a factor. Completely different reaction than what we saw on those other two names. So very clearly the correlation is breaking, and that's because bull volume was coming in response to this news. That being said, I think people are going to be positioning themselves to prepare for this potential news, but I would be surprised if this news comes out in the next week or two. It makes a significant difference, but it is possible. And if you are not a short-term trader, you perhaps want to expose yourself to the potential that is the case. So daily time frame, again, we're looking for a higher low. Key support, bulls really want to hold 1226 first thing, and the odds that we hold that level are much higher on APH compared to these other names because of the bounce we saw at the end of the day. So we're nowhere near oversold on anything here on APH, and we'll be watching to see can 1226 hold on Monday, and if it can, that's a potential bottom fishing level where, let's say we drop down to 1235, make an entry, and you say, all right, I'll exit if 1226 breaks. All depends on how weak WEED and ACB are, because there will still be a correlation between all of these three names. It's just likely to favor the APH bulls a little bit more so in the comparison. Cron on the daily time frame pulling back as well. Big time pullback on Cron, and we're looking for a higher low on the daily, anything above 865. In terms of the 4-hour time frame, significant bear volume. Hourly RSI, not close to oversold. 15-minute RSI is close to oversold, so a flush down. We're looking at support levels again. Use the 15-minute time frames. These support levels, 934, 913, 905, and it's I do believe we will see a solid bounce on Monday morning. It's just a question of, can the bulls hold that bounce, or is it a bounce that cools off RSI levels and then we fade down further for hourly RSI levels to get oversold? So like I said, my game plan is to remain cautious, just like my game plan has been this entire move up every day, because I know the top, once it's hit, I said the other day, we're going to pull back 5% real quick when the top is hit, and it ended up being 9% on WED. So why did I not swing a position yesterday after swinging Tuesday and Wednesday? Well, it was right here, this action at the end of the day. This was the first significant profit taking that we saw on the entire bull move. And it was healthy, just fine. And then this candlestick right here and this action, it was one of the largest 5-minute candlesticks. We did see a couple back earlier in the day, but just the fact that it was occurring at the end of the day when we're used to bulls closing strong up near the high and looking for the continuation, we did not get that strong close up at the high. We saw this profit taking, and that told me, be cautious on Friday, Dan. Don't be looking for a big bull run and continuation, because it was very clear that some profit taking already started Thursday just before the end of the day. So first thing on WED to start the day, I shorted Cron in the US market, and that's because CGC shares were not available on Fidelity. Cron shares were, and also the start that Cron had. At one point, Cron was up 5%, and I started seeing weakness in WED and a new low of the day. So I said, all right, I'm shorting Cron. It's way overextended in the short term, and if it's going to correlate to WED in any way, we're going to pull back here as well. So I ended up getting a beautiful fill at about 807, 808, almost at the top. And I ended up being very patient with it because I knew if the profit taking started, it would happen very fast. And I ended up covering here at 750 on this initial pullback to lock in that profit. And then I started to play CGC bounces bullish. So started the day off with a very solid win of, at that point, let's see, that was about 6% in an hour of trading. And then I went over to CGC and I didn't see any setup that I liked because CGC wasn't flushing. What it was doing was giving us a new low of the day and then not really following through, seeing a little weak bounce attempt, new low of the day, weak bounce attempt. It wasn't the kind of high volume flush that we ended up getting at about 150. And I was actually napping when this took place, and I had bids set and they filled too high. So if I were sitting here watching, it would have been a huge opportunity to profit just because of how quick that V-shaped recovery is. And again, just like WED, why did we pull back so hard? It moved up the quickest, so it pulls back the hardest. Well, when we dump really hard, we see V-shaped recoveries very often, which is why I love these oversold bounces. So I ended up getting filled my average ended up being around the 3360s. And so I woke up and that bounce was just getting started. And I said, uh-oh, I might have made a big boo-boo here, because I did not expect it to pull back that hard, that fast, knowing that I was only going to be gone for, an hour without watching. So fortunately, just was patient with it and knew that worst case scenario, I would just do one average down, because at that point, oversold RSI levels on the 5 and 15-minute time frame had me confident that we were going to see an oversold bounce soon. And then I ended up getting small profit on that trade just by being patient and locked in that small profit. And then I played this equilibrium with 2 more trades. So I anticipated a 5-minute higher low was going to form because of the size of the bounce. So I scaled in here, entered a position. When I was scaling in, I would enter 2 positions. So half of it would fill, and then I'd have another half fill, and then just patiently waited. Then the bounce got going. I took profit on that move back to all cash. Did it again, the exact same thing, playing the previous support level. And that support level did break by a couple pennies, so I was very close to selling there for a small loss, but saw the bulls start to buy that dip and gave them a little time, and then sold again. And you might be looking at this move and saying, how are you possibly making any worthwhile move? Well, I'm definitely playing with larger positions, and I'm going to put out a video later this week. I'm going to put out a video on how to play gold and miners for those that are new to it, because I anticipate action there at the end of the year. And also I'm going to put out a video, my evolution as a trader, because I started as a swing trader with small positions. I started with $3,000, and at this point I'm playing with large capital that allows me to scalp, and a 10-cent move can be a day maker for me. So if I'm scalping 10-cent moves on CGC, from the low here of 33.23, we got up to 33.78. That's a 55-cent move. Obviously, I'm not nailing the bottom and the top, but if I get 10 cents of that move, that is a very worthwhile trade for me. And if I can do that multiple times in a day, that's all I need to do in this market, and that's all the profit that I'm looking for. So I'm going to continue using large positions, and like I said on CGC, and that's why I'm so protective on these trades, because I'm literally using 50% of my total net worth on these trades these past few days this week. And for me to stay overnight in one company with 50% of my entire net worth would be really dumb. So that's why I'm being very cautious. I'm taking small amounts of profit, or I should say small moves as profit, and I'm being very protective and taking, exiting very quickly. And I actually had one losing trade today that I do want to point out, because I was not 4 for 4, I was 4 for 5. And it was initially one of the first CGC bounces that I attempted to play. And I don't have exactly where it was off the top of my head, but I ended up entering the oversold bounce. I ended up selling 30% of my position for small profit, and then ended up selling the other 70% for a small loss. And so that ended up being a small loss in total, but it allowed me to start with a fresh, clean slate, clear my head, and that's part of what the nap was for, and then come back into it. And by the time I was done with those little scalp trades, those 3 trades ended up giving me hundreds of percent more profit than that small loss was. So again, that just drives home the point. Be protective, take small losses, let the winners be bigger than those small losses, and you're going to end up just fine overall. So again, this scalping strategy is something that has taken me 7 years to master and get good at, and I'm still improving at it, because again, I've only been using this strategy for probably the last 1.5 years of my trading, because I haven't had either the capital gains, thanks cryptocurrency, or I haven't had the position size to be able to make scalping really worthwhile. And that's not the case anymore. So again, I'm just adapting my trading style, and I'll talk about that more in depth in the video that I do put out this weekend. I appreciate you all. Again, congrats to the bulls. We're looking for just a daily higher low to form and a lot more volatility to continue into next week, a lot more trading opportunity, and we will see where that higher low on the daily forms. Thanks again. Keep an eye out for those other videos coming out this weekend. Have a great Friday night.